Morning, everyone. You'll have to forgive people around Fort Stewart, Georgia today if they look at their watches more than usual and act a bit anxious. After all, some of the troops from Fort Stewart's 24th Mechanized Infantry Division are on their way home from the Gulf. It's the first unit to head home. ABC's Brian Rooney saw them leave Saudi Arabia earlier today.
The troops always said they were ready to fight. They're more than ready to go home.
I miss a cold beer and I miss a good pizza, but I miss my wife more than anything else.
The first to go were a sampling of various units of the 24th Mechanized Infantry. They will help prepare a welcome for the rest of the division back at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The same man who brought 540,000 Americans to Saudi Arabia will have to figure out how to send them back where they came from. It won't be easy.
It all came in from maybe 150 airports. We have 3 airports here to go out of. It came out of 60 or so ports, seaports. We have 2.
All the tanks, trucks, and assorted vehicles will have to be repaired and cleaned before they're shipped back to the States. Unused ammunition, and there's a lot of it, will have to be packed. But these soldiers won't have to worry about that.
As soon as I get off the plane, I think I'm just going to start jumping for joy.
It'd be nice to just get back and pop a cold soda out of the fridge and eat anytime you want to.
About 900 members of the 24th are leaving now. When things get rolling, the military hopes to send home 3,000 to 5,000 soldiers every day. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia.
President Bush broke the news about that division heading for home. It happened last night during his speech to Congress. But the thing that most people will probably remember about the speech is the way members of both political parties hailed the chief. Applause interrupted his speech 22 times. In turn, the president, of course, hailed the troops of Operation Desert Storm.
As Commander-in-Chief, I can report to you our armed forces fought with honor and valor. And as President, I can report to the nation, aggression is defeated, the war is over.
In his speech, Mr. Bush outlined challenges for the Mideast. One is to create a shared security arrangement to keep the peace. Another is to control the arms race in that area. The president also said the Allies must encourage not only new opportunities for peace and stability, but economic development as well. Mr. Bush also said that if the Allies could win the ground war in 100 hours, then Congress could act within 100 days to solve crime and other problems. ABC's political editor, Hal Bruno, joins us now from Washington to talk about all that. Hal, do you think the halo effect will help encircle the president's domestic program or not?
Certainly short range it will, Mort. You know, he's like the proverbial 900-pound gorilla in political terms right now. And this week, nobody wants to tangle with George Bush. And he threw out a challenge to the Congress within 100 days. Let's come up with the transportation and crime bill. My hunch is that comes mid-June, about 100 days from now, we'll be back to partisan politics as normal.
And you know, Hal, I don't see a rush of Democratic contenders to the throne, to the presidency. I would expect by now we'd have a lot of them.
Well, they're all hiding, which is where any sensible would-be candidate is at this particular point in time. But in the next 30 to 60 days, those who were serious about running in 1992 are going to have to come out of their hiding place. They're going to have to start raising money. They're going to have to recruit the volunteers and the people that they need in Iowa and New Hampshire. They're going to have to start putting campaign staffs together. Desert Storm put everything on hold. So we're probably about a month or 2 behind where we normally would be at this time.
Well, Hal, you're one of those big-time Washington insiders. Tell me, will it be Bush Powell, Bush Schwarzkopf, Bush Cheney, or Bush Quayle?
Right now you'd have to say, even us insiders, that it's Bush and Quayle until shown otherwise. Every time you've seen George Bush, you've seen Dan Quayle looking over his shoulder. They've been sending a message that Dan Quayle is their guy. Now, if, you know, the end of this year, it looked as if it might possibly be a tough election, which at this point seems unlikely, but if, you know, if things changed and it got tough, then you might see a change in which the vice president might volunteer to do something different. And there would be an opening on the ticket. But right now, it looks like a Bush-Quayle ticket. It's going to be tough to beat, but there's nothing automatic in American politics. When you're 90% in the polls, the only direction you can go is down. So the president looks very good for re-election, but it's not over with.
In political time, Hal. 92 is light years away. Thanks to Hal Bruno, our political editor, this morning. Thousands of Allied troops won't be going home for a while. The war is over, but not the work. There is still the mop-up operation, and that includes the dangerous job of locating and destroying the hundreds of mines laid by Iraqi troops. French soldiers are crossing the Kuwaiti beaches slowly on their hands and knees, looking for the telltale donut shapes in the sand. A step in the wrong direction can be deadly. The two enemies in the war are to meet again today, and they're expected to discuss the people who are still missing, the soldiers, Kuwaiti civilians, and journalists. There's a report that Iraq plans to turn more than 20 journalists over to the Red Cross today. They were last seen Sunday heading into Iraq to cover civil unrest. Up to 2,000 Kuwaitis may also be turned over to the Red Cross.